Alright, an RE4F02A I'm going to have to put back together because you're going to get a used unit. But there's a gasket underneath here. And I believe there's a gasket underneath this one too. It's been so long, don't really remember. You got a park actuator that's going to go in right here. Hopefully this is coming out enough. See if I can scoot over a little bit. Our park actuator there. I wasn't going to do this, but odds of me coming across another one is going to be pretty slim, so I'll just try to get some of this. I mean, it's not going to be like rebuilding it, but close enough. You got our pin, goes in here. Our spring, this is going to loop around right here. I'm sorry, around the back. Alright, there we go. And it goes in there. You get this little spacer that goes in between. You have to make sure that when you tighten your rear cover down that it doesn't pinch that spring and keep it from actuating. You got two sealing rings that go on the back here, and they're butt cut, which means they're flat. They just go together like so. So putting some grease on here to help keep that in there would be a wise idea. You got shims underneath both of these, so keep them separate. Sometimes there's more than one. Let's see if there's more than one on here. Doesn't seem like it. You can see that some of these have Loctite on the bolts. Looks like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one down here all have Loctite on them. Got your gasket needs to go on there. You got some longer bolts that go in the back here. This bolt up here has a bracket that goes on it for the ground wire, so that was not on here when it came back here, so it's not getting it back. You've got the longer bolt that goes right there with the Loctite. And 12 millimeters on the back here. I'd be kind of curious as to where they found a used unit. the time that you would want to check your park. Make sure that it's actually working. Alright, there's a piston in here, two D-ring style rubber rings. And then you got your return spring. The opening for the snap ring is over here at about the 10 o'clock position. There's two sealing rings that go on down here. And we got this drum right here. This is the same way. It's got two D-ring style rubber rings on it. These are the clutches that go in here. Actually, we need to probably go ahead and put our hub. Where's our hub? Our hub here. And we got this 3-ring or 3-tab washer is going to go on the back. This bearing goes down inside the case right there. And our hub goes in here. I was able to come up with all the parts except for the clutch hub and the solenoid assembly. So nobody makes a solenoid assembly for it anymore, they say. I find that, I guess, believable. This bevel plate goes with the dish down, and our pressure plate, flat snap ring. Alright, and we got this bearing. We got a 4-tab washer on the back, this one. Got this bearing here. Sun gear goes with the step up. If I was rebuilding this, I would weld right down in these little divots right here and then grind it off flush so that the bearing, it would sit flush and not be interfered with. And I would also weld back here and grind this down to where it's not interfering with the bearing on the back here. And we got this bearing here, goes on the back. This planet goes down. This wire ring goes around that. And down here in the bottom we got this bevel plate, goes with the dish down. We got this wide spot, goes up here at the top. These are the clutches that would go in there. I'm going to leave these out just to make it easier. going to get rid of too much of this just in case the used unit doesn't work out and I have to end up going back into this unit. Not like that had never happened before. Alright. A pressure plate. And you got a flat snap ring. And our whole drum assembly sits down in there. You would have to get the clutches to spline up at the same time that you're going down with all that. So and our sprag assembly goes in. This side goes down, this side goes up. And again, our wide opening at the top. Turns clockwise, locks counterclockwise. Another flat snap ring. This bearing. Sun shell with a 4-tab washer. This bearing. This hub, which would normally not have clutches attached to it, so this is going to have to go back into the drum. And it would go this way. I guess I need to put the races in. Well, one of my races is gone. And down on the bottom of this drum, here's a dished plate, and the dish is going to go down. And it'd be a washer similar to this, except for it's bigger, and it would go on the outside here. This one here goes on the inside at the bottom. This bearing goes in here. Like I say, that washer would go. Come on. Quit jacking with me. You have your dish plate, and then there would be a single plate on the bottom, and then the clutch, and then two steels, the clutch, and you would keep alternating until you got to the top. And then we would have this pressure plate on top. Our flat snap ring. just sits in there like so. And when you're putting this thing together, take your sealing rings that you get from your kit and put them together inside the drum before you put them on the pump, and make sure that the gap is not too wide. And do that on both of these drums, this drum and this drum. Make sure that they fit properly. You got the cushion plate dished down again. This is the clutches that would go in there. There again, I'm gonna leave them out. Now there's different ones for different years. Your pressure plate. Your flat snap ring. Then on this groove right here, there's this kind of spiral ring. Yep, sit on top, just like so. I would assemble my servo now. I'll go ahead and take this apart and show you what's in there. $8mm if you can't get it out with the Phillips. Alright. So you got a D-ring in here, O-ring out here. It's going to sit on there just like so. You got a D-ring here, a D-ring here. You got the inner accumulator spring. They say to leave the outer one out, put the inner one in, and then assemble this. It's supposed to give it a much better shift. Wrong screwdriver. Alright, so we would put that back in there. And we got a D-ring here. This goes in just like so. Your outer spring, you got a spring inside there also. That'll go in there. You got this clip that holds it all in. Pair of pliers. And our band would go in like so. Differential sit in the top right there, and we assemble this part of it. There's another shim underneath this race. We've got a guide ring. Actually, we would where's my slide at? There we are. Here's a ring in here. There's an O-ring underneath this. Change that O-ring, put that in. And we got this spring. Alright, where are you? He's in here somewhere. Here he is. Alright, there's this little dude right here. Goes on the end of this spring. The rounded end is going to face down. Just put your spring in there. Your pivot pin. Our guide ring would go in. It didn't matter which way this went in. I always look at the way it was and put it back the way it was. And we put our vanes in. You look at the end of them. You can see where they're riding against the guide rings. Put that end back in there towards them. Here, we got 2 more to go. And we got another guide ring. Goes in right here. There we go. And you would want to center that to where it's pretty much in the center, because that recessed area has to fit around that. We put our feed holes up there. These are the sealing rings I told you to check inside the drums. Six millimeters on the pump. Alright, this plastic thing would go, these tabs, these feet would fit down here, these tabs would go right here. This thing would sit just like that. I'm going to keep this. And then this tube, oh, I should have put that in before I put the pump on. That needs to go underneath the pump, so it would sit in there like so. Put this in before the pump. So I'm going to leave this out. And These 2/8 with these 2 lock washers would hold that in. So just pretend that's in there. Down here on your filter would sit in there like so. This bracket would fit right there. This little tab would hook around it. This little tab rests up against right there. And that actually, this went inside on the servo. This held the inner part of the servo. Other snap ring held the outer part. Got way ahead of myself. These 3 hold the filter and this bracket on back here. And this bearing goes right there. This washer goes on the back. These were fairly bad about breaking. Alright. And you would have this gasket. It went right here in between the 2 halves. There we go. You got these bigger bolts. One goes here, here. I know there was one right there. Pretty sure there was. Maybe there wasn't. Alright, smaller one, one with the washer and nut on the back goes right here. Smaller one. Smaller one. Smaller one. And a large one, a large one, and a large one. Smaller one. Needs to be a little bit longer. Alright. Yeah. Got a large one here, a large one here. Shorter one. Shorter one. Yep. That one goes there. This shorter one goes here. Another short one in here. And then this one in here. input shaft would go in. There's an O-ring goes on here for your lockup. You could also put that input shaft in before you put the housing on if you wanted to. Get this down here where I can work on it. Alrighty. Now this would go in, and our little locking deal would go in this hole. Right there. And hold this in place. If we was sticking that in there, you put that in first, put this in. And you have this washer, and this bolt holds that all in there. 17 millimeter. I'm going to go ahead and keep all this. Then once you had that in there, two washers on this end. You could slide that in the hole. You slide that in there. Then there would be two more washers on here. O-ring on here. That would go on. I'm going to keep all this. That would go on there. And 2 tins go on here. And your speed sensor, there's an O-ring there. And a tin that holds it on. I'm going to keep this probably because the ones at the junkyard's probably not going to be any good. I usually just cut the harnesses and everything on the peripheral gets damaged, so I'm going to keep this sensor. See if I can get it off of here. There we go. Now this cap only really fit one way. There we go. And there were tins holding it on. switch here. That's a 10 that holds that on. We've got these different heads. Get these little lock washers that are loose on there. Here's another one. And here's the other one. I'm going to keep the wiring harness off this thing also, because they may have cut it from the junkyard. I don't have to go through the trouble of getting the thing back off. So you would guide your harness back through there. There's no ring on here. This little tab fits on that little rib right there, just like so. Once you got that in, there's a bracket that goes here. These two 12s, one here, one here. And leave all that off. A neutral switch would go in there. Here's your line-up tab. You line that hole up with this hole and that hole right there. That's about the right size. And it's 143 thousandths drill bit. You just line all that up. 3/8 out here. You tighten those down once it's all lined up. Let's go ahead. See if I can show you this. That's gonna be a pain. Anyhow, I'm gonna take this cover off, and this snap ring goes in between. I screwed it up. Okay, you put this piece in, and this snap ring. Taper the tips out towards you. Then this cap goes in, and this snap ring goes in. See, speed sensor. This speed sensor goes in right down here. There's a 10 that holds it in. 10 millimeter. then we'd adjust our band. I'm going to keep this also, but you'd adjust this in, tighten it all the way down. Let me get it in there. I believe they call for 2 or 2.5 turns. I usually would go a little bit tighter than that. This is 7mm. Yep, 7mm. There's 14mm on the nut. But what you do is screw this in until it got tight. And we'll see what 2.5 turns looks like. Alright, it's pretty tight. So we got 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, 1, 1/4, 1/2, 1/4, and 3/4, 2. And I would probably leave it right there. That's where I would tighten it down. Let me go ahead and take this out and keep this. Alright, I'm going to go take the valve body apart so we can go through that. I'm going to go find the bushing that goes, I would put on here. There's a seal that goes on here. You need to put the lip facing up towards you. And then we would block this off with a bushing. So I'm going to go get the bushing and get you the size of that, and then show you the valve body, and I guess we're pretty much done. Alright, this is how the valve setups are. This is this side of the valve body. And that's the other side. So we'll start over here. Spring, little keeper, and this one here, the spring goes in first. And the valve. Come on, drop on in there. And the keeper. one here, valve goes in, and the spring. And let's see, I don't think I got anything to fit that. So we use a Phillips screwdriver. Go. Now this one again, valve in first, spring, and retainer. Got that one in between. There we go. Now this one goes in just like that. Normally I wouldn't take all this stuff out, but the odds of me getting another one to show y'all in the future is pretty slim. I haven't seen one of these in forever. And this one, the valve goes in. Spring. Retainer. Or the plug and this retainer. Alright. This goes in with the little lip facing back. And if I was really rebuilding this, I would make damn sure that plug went back. This one, the valve goes in. This was a really tight fit. Oh, wrong hole. It's still a tight fit coming out, especially the plug. Plug goes in. This valve goes in. Wrong hole. Retainer. Spring. Valve. plug, spring, this valve, plug, spring, this valve, container, this one come out really tight too. This valve, outer spring, inner spring, washer, this valve goes down inside here and put grease to hold it in place. There we go. This retainer is going to go with the lip facing out. This valve. And spring. This end plug, and the groove's going to have to face to where the clip's going to capture it. It's going to go in with the lip facing out again. This valve. This down here was really hard coming out also. Spring. A retainer with the lip facing out again. Come on now. It'll be like this. Well, it's not like it's being rebuilt. And the manual valve goes in. And the spring. This valve. End plug. And a face out again. All right. Yeah, our check balls. This one right here is 186 thousandths. It goes right there. It's got this little keeper, and it's going to sit in just like that. The rest of these are 100. What were they? 187. The rest of these are 217. And we had one here, 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 and right there, 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 there. I think there's one more. Did I lose one? It only takes one here if there's two holes. And there's not. There's only one hole. Yeah, let me go double check this. Okay, there's not one right there. That one goes over here. So we got one here, 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 here. 186 thousandths, one here with the keeper on top. Now we always took the valve body gaskets and threw them away. But if you're going to put them on, make sure you match them up. And we got this bolt. Go on the back right here, and this little keeper's gonna go right there. We'll leave that loose. You got this here. It's got a filter right there, faces that direction. This little tip facing this way. It's actually going to sit right here, just like that. You can actually just go ahead and leave that like that. Set this on there. Got a shoulder bolt with a washer here, washer here. The bolt comes in from the back side, nut goes on the front side. Another one, longer one, goes in right there. This wire is going to go just like so. this other plate's gonna have to go on first. Let's see. Now we got this other plate that goes on back here with your solenoid assembly. Another filter here. It's going to sit on there just like so. Bracket goes right there. There we go. That's how all our brackets go. Alright, we'll go back over here and put the valve. Alright, we got our accumulator, O-ring and an O-ring. Got our spring in here. We put a bushing. This one's 178 thousandths. So we just drop the bushing in there, put our seal on there, drop that in there. There's O-ring here. And then we would put this clip in there with the taper of our tips facing up again. I'll bolt this down later, and there's a gasket goes here. And it's just sit on there just like so. You got these green 10 millimeters. Go on there. Have our wiring harness that would bring it out. Our wiring harness would come up through here. Line our manual valve up. short 10 goes over here in the corner. Alright, then we just plug everything in. Of course, this one here would plug into here. Our temperature sensor would pop in right there. We lift these tabs up, put our wiring harness underneath it. This one would fold up over the top of it. Plug the black into the black and the white into the white. Pretty straightforward. Got a gasket on the pan, and then there are pan bolts, and that was all. There was a don't forget your little grommet that goes on your linkage. Other than that, that's it for this unit. We're good. One thing I did forget to mention, on your filler tube where it comes up here, it's going to have a little vent spigot like this, where this hose comes off and it's going to loop back into the filler tube. Make sure this hose is in good shape, not all cracked and everything, because it's just going to leak fluid out of here, because it's constantly burping fluid out of this and right back into the filler tube. That's why they did that. I don't know why this thing always had bad problems with it burping the fluid out, but they looped it right back in so it would go right back into the tranny. So make sure that hose is good.